Have you ever heard the phrase, ignorance is bliss? Well, that might be the case in some instances, but it's definitely not when you're moving to Alaska, because there's actually a lot of stuff up here that you wouldn't think about. That's not exactly bliss. My name is Jamin Goecker. I'm an associate real estate broker in the state of Alaska, and my mission is to help you to build an intentional and significant legacy for yourself and your family by coaching on real estate. And today we're going to be talking about the things you don't know that you don't know when it comes to moving to Alaska. And these are going to be kind of from my own personal experiences, and looking forward to jumping into those. Before we do, though, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel, because we get quite a few people who watch the content here and enjoy it and don't actually subscribe. And it does actually help us out quite a bit if you subscribe, because that tells the algorithm that this is something you get value from. So do make sure you do that, and let's jump into today's video. One of the big things you need to know right off the bat if you're coming to Alaska, if you're driving up here on the Alcan, or I guess that's really about your only option right this second, just because our vessels, they usually go all the way up. Valdez and Whittier are at dock right at the moment getting repaired, so I guess driving is the only option. But just know your windshield will almost certainly be cracked. You've gone through your first summer, because there's a lot of dirt roads here. There's a lot of gravel they can get on even the paved roads, and that obviously you start kicking up all that gravel. And then also during the winter times, they throw gravel on top of the roads and just give us extra traction. Once it starts melting during the springtime, you get all this loose gravel all over the place, and that crack windshields as well. So I sure hope you aren't really attached to whatever windshield you have, because it's probably not going to be around forever. This one's really important, and that is around like the autumn fall time frame is actually pretty taboo to be talking about oncoming winter. If you do that, you're going to be awakening a lot of negative emotions from a lot of people. So maybe don't even mention it and just keep it to yourself that you can see snow in the mountains. Cars are more expensive up here, and they're usually not in as good a condition, and they're a little sketchier if you're going to purchase something on the second market. I say this as somebody who recently went and purchased a car after trying for 2 months to buy something on the secondary market just from an owner. It did not go very well. Eventually, I just ended up having to go to the dealership and buying something. I test drove like 5 or 6 different vehicles. All of them were pretty sketchy. Are way overpriced. People who didn't want you to take it to the mechanic, just a lot of sketchy stuff. So just know that. If you're planning on just buying something on the used car market up here, maybe not. Probably your options are going to be better wherever you're coming from. I don't know what PR campaign that the spring season did to make everyone look forward to it, but up here in Alaska, it is not something you really look forward to, and that's because during the springtime, we have the thaw going on, and that's where like all the snow and ice starts melting, and that sounds really good, and it's good, the outcome's great, but the problem is all of the scat and all the animal droppings from the past like 4, 5, 6 months like thaw out all at the same time. You get all the debris and the trash that's been building up under the snow that all gets revealed all at the same time, and it's really muddy. So for that reason, springtime's really not anyone's favorite time of the year up here in Alaska. Off-grid is by far not the norm up here. Not at all. Most people see that. A lot of reality TV shows, a lot of YouTube channels, and they think that's normal. That's really not normal up here. If you're moving during the summertime, you are going to find that just about your entire summer is going to be consumed with the actual move, instead of being able to get in the spring or the wintertime and actually enjoy the summer. If you move in during the summer, like it's all just going to be about the move, and is the mail set up and we have all of our stuff yet, and you're going to be too stressed out really to go get out and really enjoy a whole lot. So for that reason, I usually recommend people actually move during the springtime or during the winter if they can. If not, summer's still good too. Just have to prioritize what's important to you. Now, let's go and take a break real quick. For those of you who've been watching for a while, you do know that I host a podcast called the Alaskan Journey Podcast, where I interview people who have recently moved to Alaska or people who've lived here for a while and want to share kind of their experiences with you. That's a resource you'd like to take advantage of. Make sure you go check the description section down below to get a link to the podcast, and make sure to subscribe there and really enjoy the resource that it is. Now, let's go and finish up today's video. One thing I really want you to be aware of if you are looking at moving up here to Alaska, and this is a big logistical issue just for getting your stuff up here, and that is the ferry system does not have a reliable vessel right now that's going to go from Bellingham all the way up to Alaska, where you don't have to go through Canada at all. They have a lot of vessels that are going to travel throughout southeast Alaska. They don't really have a vessel that can go all the way from Bellingham all the way up to Valdez or Whittier. We have one vessel, the Kennecott, that is reported to be, that's going to be done with repairs around November 2023. The problem is they're going to have to find a crew for said vessel, and we're really not sure if that's going to happen. The other vessel, the Matanuska, they're running into some complications on the repairs for that one, so I'm not 100% sure that one's even coming back. So for that reason, plan to drive through the Alcan. And if the ferry comes up and you want to use that and you can afford it, that's great. But I'd say probably plan on just driving the Alcan in the meantime. Weirdly enough to you, I was going to feel at first, most other people when you get up here are actually pretty new to the state as well. So just because you're new doesn't mean that you're going to be the outsider at all. Chances are you're going to be in the majority from day one that you get here. It's going to be the people who've been here for 30, 40 years. They're in the very small minority tucked away in a corner somewhere. It can be a little challenging to meet people up here. I think partly that might just be because it gets a little more difficult to meet new people as you become a little bit older. Once the college days get further and further behind, it gets a little more challenging to meet new people. But I do think just in Alaska in general, it can be a little challenging to meet folks. So, I mean, find communities, find interests, and plug in there. We also have the Alaska Monthly Meetup group that we do have for people who are recently relocating up here, or people who just like socializing. Or we'll go for hikes, bonfires, just really simple stuff that we can all go do as a group, and you can kind of meet new people that way. But yes, just know that meeting people in Alaska can be a little more challenging than what you would find in other places. Now, the Alaskan summers can be glorious, or they can be really rainy. Okay, that's kind of the secret that nobody tells you when you're looking at moving up here, that you really don't get 100 days of gorgeous summer up here. That's really not how it works. You'll have the winter time, and then you're going to have some great days during summer, but then you're going to have some rainy days, and lately you're going to have a lot of rainy days mixed into that. Now, this one might be a bit of a surprise to you, but yes, there are in fact HOAs and associations up here in Alaska. They are not nearly as invasive in Alaska as what they are in the lower 48. Like, I know in some places in Florida, you will actually get interviewed by board members of the association before they even allow you into the association for you to complete the transaction. So the associations up here by and large are not going to be nearly as invasive. I can tell you where the HOA Nazis are going to be, and they're usually very much the exception and not the norm, but yes, they are going to be up here. Last but not least, you should know, and this is really for those of you who are single and coming up here, but there is a pretty big gender gap between the men and women up here. Just to give you an idea, if you're looking at the ages from 20 to 24, I should say, you're looking at about 130 men for every 100 women. And if you're looking at really going all the way up to about 30 to 34, you're seeing at best, I think it's like 112 to like 100 women. And I think that's 25 to 30. Yeah. That's it's still about 120 men to 100 women. So as you can see, there's a pretty big gender gap there. I'm sure if you could break it down to looking at that age group and looking at just the single status, it'd probably be even more slanted. So just know, I'm looking out for my bros here. If you're a guy and you're looking at moving up here and you are single, just know you're going to have to compete, I guess, when you get up here. Make sure your dating game is on point. Also, for those of you who are watching here currently, if your dating game is on point, you do all right up here, you're going to clean up in any other state. So this has been the things you don't know that you don't know about moving to Alaska. I sure hope it's been useful for you. Make sure you give this video a like, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and we'll see you next time.